Today I am wonderful. Welcome to my podcast. It will be published at irregular intervals in German and English, maybe later in French and Italian too. This is because I'm a translator and love all kinds of languages. It is also important to me to use my own voice for the podcast, so please forgive me for my accent. The podcast is always about today, and therefore about the moment in the now, which is eternal, just like Eckhart Tolle always says. When I record this, it's today, and when you listen to it, it's also today. This is the magical moment. Today my focus is on how wonderful we are. Some people realize this, others don't. Most of us are probably convinced that we are very far from being wonderful. This may be because we often feel smaller or make ourselves smaller than others, that we don't take ourselves seriously, that we think we are not beautiful or good enough, that we think others are faster, better, or more evolved than we are. We may even think that everyone else is great, but not us. Our partner may be wonderful because he or she reads our every wish from our eyes or always seems to know how we are feeling. Our children may be wonderful because they come from us, and every mother or father thinks their own children are wonderful for at least the first few years. Our sister may be wonderful because she always has a sympathetic ear, because she has great clothes, because she has a nice husband. Our brother may be wonderful because he lends us his big car, helps us paint our room, or has good ideas for birthday presents for the parents. The list could go on and on. But then there are also the people we don't find so wonderful. Perhaps we want to distance ourselves from them because they are not good for us. There may be a mother, a father, or both parents who have never really seen us, who often judge us and don't appreciate us enough, even though we have made an extreme effort. We have done a lot for them, but we still receive no praise, hardly any thanks, and no recognition. After all, it is normal for children to help their parents. Our parents often grew up with this attitude, and so did we. And there may also be a teacher who reprimands us, who makes us feel like we're not making it, that we're not good enough for society. And then there's a boss who constantly tells us that we're still not doing our job well enough, that others are better, that we need to make an effort. And yet our wages are not even enough to lead a decent life. It's all about performance, being better or faster. Hardly anyone tells us that we are doing a great job, or that we have earned respect, or that we are really liked. Am I being too pessimistic to start my podcast like this? Or do you recognize yourself in one of the examples? If so, you're not alone. It's our Western society that has brought us up like this. But aren't you just wonderful the way you are? Yes, of course you are. Let's take a closer look. When you are alone with yourself, when you don't have much on your mind, when you can take it easy, when you are not distracted or disturbed, what is happening to you then? You are in contact with yourself. You perceive yourself. You are aware of what is in front of you, behind you, next to you. You may be sitting in your favorite spot. You enjoy the warmth of the sun. You have spontaneous thoughts that arise within you. Here too the list can be quite long. For instance, I feel wonderful when I can feel every cell inside of me I may be looking at the blue sky and notice the beautiful color. When it's grey, I notice the shades of grey. Who said that grey cannot be wonderful too? Does a child find the grey less wonderful than the blue? It is just a matter of looking at things in a different way. Just because I have learned that grey is not as cheerful as blue, it doesn't mean I cannot appreciate each color as something quite special. I find it wonderful that I am alive, that I can feel the warmth flowing through me. Here's a little exercise you might like to try. Lie down on the floor and feel the hard ground. When I do this, I can feel my arms and legs resting on the ground, my head also resting on the hard surface. I hear the sound of the air flowing through my nose. I hear the surrounding noises. I think it's wonderful that I can hear full stop. My ears take in so many different sounds. After a while, I realize that my bottom starts to hurt because I'm lying on the hard floor, barely moving. But if I manage to stay there a little longer, I notice what's happening to my body and my thoughts, and I can sense whether the unease in the body is starting to upset me. Funnily enough, because I think that the discomfort could upset me, it doesn't upset me at all. It's only when my buttocks or another part of my body becomes numb that I get up from the floor. How wonderful it is to feel the blood flow in every activated cell of the body. When I sit down with my boss or with my parents the next day and I feel unpleasantly treated, I think back to the hard floor. I am mindful of myself. I feel my breath, and I remember that I managed not to get upset, even when my body was aching on the hard ground. And the wonderful feeling I had when I got up from the floor. And it may be strange, but the situation with the boss or the parents can suddenly change because I realize that I can feel wonderful even in unpleasant situations. This is because I stayed deeply connected with myself instead of being distracted by my surroundings. That's the whole secret. This is just a small exercise, but it's very valuable. It enables you to be completely with yourself in a seemingly imperfect or stressful situation and remind yourself that you are wonderful at all times. Just being you makes you wonderful. Only you are the measure of all things. Your boss can never see you for who you really are, neither can your parents. They can only see themselves, and they usually have a distorted perception of themselves that hurts them. It is their upbringing and has nothing to do with you. What they don't seem to like about you is just their distance from themselves. If they also practiced awareness, they would always be completely happy with you, and with themselves for that matter. Remember, no one can love you like you love yourself, and no one gets a chance to find you wonderful if you can't feel what is wonderful about you. You are the measure of all things. You are life itself. You are wonderful.